If you guys could think of one word to describe tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, Winter is Coming, what would you say? Shocked? Surprised? This is the one word I would say. Brilliant. That last hour of AEW tonight was absolutely brilliant with the tag team match and the main event of tonight's show. We got so much to go over tonight. It's insane. It's going to be very different. Usually I go from top to bottom. Tonight, we are going to start off tonight's review with the main event first, talking about Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. But ladies and gentlemen, before we do, I got an old guest back here on the channel. He was on the channel before. We talked about Fyter Fest Night 2. I hit him up last night. I was like, dude, I need a guest for the Winter is Coming show. You're my perfect candidate. He said, I'm all in. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the one, the only, Wesley Williams. How you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Winter is coming, nay. Winter has come. And it couldn't have come any better, my friend. This was a phenomenal show tonight. Very, very, very newsworthy. And I cannot wait to discuss with you. Back for the second time. And I know everybody's been clamoring. Everybody's been waiting. They've been wanting me back so badly. I've been hearing the chatters. I've been hearing all the chants. I understand. I get you. But hey, look, patience. We had to wait so long for Moxley and Omega round 2. Or you could say round 1, technically, since that first match wasn't really a sanctioned match. But anyway, you get my point. But patience, it's a virtue. And you just had to wait a little bit. But now I'm back. And we're here to talk AEW Dynamite. Winter is coming. What a show. Let's get right into it, my man.
What a show it was. Patience, man. You guys wanted him on before. You wanted him again. I brung him back for you. This was the perfect night to do it. Winter is coming. But Wesley, we are going to get right into it. And like I said in the beginning, we're going to talk about the main event first. So we are going to talk about Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega to start off this review. This was the main event of the show. This match went, I believe, 28 minutes. Awesome match, I think. I think it was an awesome match. I got one criticism for this match, and I think you know what it's probably going to be.
One criticism. I know what you're talking about. Yep, the commercial breaks.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, the commercial breaks. I was fine with one picture-in-picture, but we got 2 picture-in-pictures, and that was a no-go for me. That was the one criticism I had of this match. Besides that, I thought this match was awesome. Slow in the beginning. Yes, you guys have to know that Kenny Omega's working injured right now, so the match was slow in the beginning. It picked up a whole lot toward the ending with a lot of V-triggers. Moxley hit him with a huge clothesline, and then more V-triggers. Moxley diving on the outside. Omega hit a V-trigger. Snapdragon suplex. Omega kicked out of a paradigm shift. And then this is where things got interesting. Don Callis got off the announce desk. Moxley hit a paradigm shift to Omega onto the heater. And then there's a bunch of officials down there. Don Callis was down there helping out Kenny Omega. Moxley rolled Omega back into the ring, beating him up. Callis was very worried. And then Callis actually got pushed by Jon Moxley. And then while the microphone was in the ring, and Moxley's looking at Don Callis. Omega hits Moxley with the microphone over his head, hits one more V-trigger, hits the one-winged angel, and he wins the AEW World Championship, does Kenny Omega. Jon Moxley's reign has ended. Omega is the new champion. Then Kenny Omega and I think his new manager, Don Callis, rush out of Daly's place. You got Tony Khan trying to say congrats to Kenny. Don Callis blows Tony Khan off. You got the enhancement talent in AEW. They're trying to say something. Don Callis and Kenny Omega, they're just running off. somehow Alex Marvez comes up and he says, and Don Callis tells him, "You're just going to have to hear from us on Tuesday night." And Alex Marvez said, "But Dynamite's on Wednesday." I said, and then he said, "Tuesday night at Impact Wrestling on Access TV, you will hear what me and Kenny Omega have to say." That was the way AEW Dynamite ended. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. First of all, let's talk about the match first. What did you think about the match between Moxley and Omega?
I thought they absolutely delivered in every way that they promised us going into this show tonight. I wouldn't honestly change a thing about this match. I loved that it started slow. And the fact that also Omega, he's working injured, like you mentioned. The fact that he's still performing at such a high caliber, even injured. And you can say the same about Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, because he's wrestling injured. The fact that, this is just, maybe 80% Omega, that just goes to show you the caliber of wrestler that Kenny Omega is. And, Moxley, not taking anything away from Moxley, man. He's the champ for a reason. John Moxley, one of my favorites, man. World champ for 277 days up until tonight. Kenny Omega, new world champion. Now, we did see Don Callis, like you mentioned. He helped with the screw job here. He was over in commentary the entire match. Now, I did notice this. I didn't think much of it. I did see Don Callis. The first time we saw him was back at Full Gear, Hangman versus Omega. It was a great match, great opening match. And then here we see him tonight in the main event. I didn't think much of Callis getting involved, but then we, of course, saw him get involved, and Kenny used the microphone that Callis had in his hand to his advantage. The screw job commenced, and now Kenny and Don Callis are on their way over to Impact Wrestling next Tuesday. Very, very newsworthy, man. I think Impact's going to get quite the spike in viewers this Tuesday night, myself included. I don't usually tune into Impact Wrestling, but I think they got another viewer based off of that ending there. But I really enjoyed this, and the cleaner is officially back. And I was really hoping that Kenny would use a heel tactic in order to win, and that's exactly what he did. And I did not expect it to come in the form of Don Callis, but I really like it, though, man. These two guys have such a history with each other. Match itself, tremendous work. John Moxley, I commend him on just such a tremendous 277-day reign as world champion. It's just amazing how far he has come, going back to his WWE days up until now, until when he arrived at Double or Nothing, man. That wonderful night, I still remember vividly. I marked out so hard. I freaked out my entire family about how much I marked out when that happened. And Moxley has just come such a long way, man, and you just cannot take anything away from the guy, man. He made himself look like such an awesome world champion, such a credible world champion. You can also thank AEW for that, because they actually know how to creatively book their champions. So you gotta commend Moxley on that. Omega, new world champion. I cannot wait to see what this new journey does and where it takes us, and it's gonna be great to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fresh page in the new book, as they like to say. Omega is the third chapter in the AEW World Championship book. Do you think this confirmed the Kenny Omega heel turn tonight, or you think they're just still teasing it?
I think this pretty much confirmed it. I think with Callis helping and them rushing out of the arena, I think this pretty much confirmed that we got cleaner Kenny Omega back. The Kenny Omega that all these people were begging for. And see, that's the thing. Patience. You got to be patient. So that's why everybody wanted to jump to, Kenny Omega, showing up as the cleaner immediately. No. We got to wait a little bit. AEW, if they taught us anything, it's long-term storytelling. They know how to do it. That's something that WWE doesn't know about nowadays. But AEW, they know all about long-term storytelling. They do a tremendous job with it. So we just had to wait a little bit. But now he's finally here. New Japan Kenny is here, man. And it's going to be awesome. The promo work, the in-ring work, it's going to be off the charts.
Yeah, New Japan Kenny is here. The Kenny that people all wanted. But before we move on, this was probably the most talked about thing next to a big debut, which we'll talk about later. But this now teases a unofficial, I guess, working agreement between AEW and Impact Wrestling. There was a lot of talks of AEW and NWA, and now there's going to be more talks of AEW and Impact Wrestling. And for those of you who don't know, I don't watch Impact Wrestling every week, but I know that they got a solid roster over there. They don't have a bad roster at all. And if we were to see a partnership between Impact and AEW, we would see guys like Motor City Machine Guns in AEW, the North in AEW, the Good Brothers in AEW. Impact's got a solid tag team division. AEW, we know how great their tag team division is. You can get guys like Chris Bay and Willie Mack, who reminds me of Keith Lee a lot. They got a solid roster that you can match up the Impact roster with the AEW roster, and you can get some very good matches out of that, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this could be a massive thing for both AEW and Impact. I mean, just imagine how many more people could tune into Impact Wrestling now that they're associated with AEW. Now, so that there's the big possibility, the big question on the table: is AEW and Impact, are they working together? Are they a unit? I think this could be just a massive thing. And Impact, even though I don't really watch it myself, I know of all the men and women they have on that roster, all the talented men and women they have on that roster. I mean, like you mentioned with the tag teams, the North. I mean, I would love it if the North showed up in AEW. I know how great the North are, and it would just be absolutely insane. The women's division in AEW, the Knockouts division, it's honestly the second best women's division. First is NXT, undoubtedly. Second best to me is Impact's women's division. I mean, you have a lot of different matches, a lot of different storylines you could go about this, but we'll have to see as time goes on, man. But yeah, there's a lot of talks about AEW and NWA having a partnership, which I think could still be a thing, considering that we've seen more NWA talent show up on AEW. And, the big one, the really big one that still is up in the air is AEW New Japan. Now, if that ever occurred, that's a game changer. That's a game changer, undoubtedly, man. But it's going to be interesting to see how this works, and they definitely got everybody talking tonight. I think AEW just did a tremendous job with that.
Very quickly, before we move on to the top of the show, if we get an official partnership between AEW and Impact Wrestling, will this have Vince McMahon shitting his pants?
I would probably say that more so about an AEW and New Japan partnership. If that happened, then undoubtedly, I think this will still worry Vince McMahon. I think this will still have him, just losing his mind in his office over at Titan Tower. I think this will still have some sort of effect on him. But we'll have to see. But yeah, I bet you Vince has probably got all eyes on this right now. Even though AEW's not competition according to them, but no, it's they're clearly competition if you're trying to counter program every week. But that's a different topic. But yeah, Vince, I think, has all eyes on this right now. I still think this is something he's definitely going to be pondering. And yeah, I mean, AEW is just they're making more and more insane things happen as time goes on, man. You love to see it. You really do.
Awesome things, man. We might be getting a new partnership on the way, and we have a new world champion in Kenny Omega. So we decided to talk about the main event first. Now we're going to go back to the top of the show, which had the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal. Now, as you guys know here on the channel, I say it about every time there's a Battle Royal match. I cannot stand the Battle Royals. I think they are lame. I think they're very sloppy, and they don't get interesting until the Final Four or Final Five. But we had some pretty good stories and developing stories in this Battle Royal, like Scorpio Sky and Shawn Spears, Hangman Page with the Dark Order, which is something I'm very intrigued in now. Dark Order saving Adam Hangman Page in the Battle Royal. And then you got Best Friends with Miro and Kip Sabian, which Miro might not have won, but he had the best performance in the Battle Royal, in my opinion. This came down to the Inner Circles, MJF, Wardlow, and Sammy Guevara against against Miro, Jungle Boy, and Orange Cassidy. Miro got tossed out by all the members of the Inner Circle. Then MJF went to push Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara fell with Jungle Boy, and Sammy got right back up, and he started yelling at MJF, and MJF tried to plead his case, and he thought that him and Wardlow had won, but then Wardlow was like, we still got Orange Cassidy, he's on the outside. And then moments later, we see Orange Cassidy eliminate Wardlow. So next week for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, it's going to be MJF versus Orange Cassidy, and that should be a very good match. But overall, fun battle royal. I'll give it a thumbs up just because of the developing storylines in this. But the match itself, I'm not a fan of battle royals at all. Your takeaway on this battle royal?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. About battle royals, I mean, the only battle royal that I really enjoy is the Royal Rumble, and for obvious reasons. But yeah, the battle royal concept, I kind of wish AEW would kind of do away with, and instead find something else to further this kind of stuff, because this battle royals are just they're all the same, they're all formulaic, and they just never end up being like a very memorable match or anything like that. But I will say that the things that really stood out to me with this match, like you mentioned with Miro. Yeah, Miro, in my opinion as well, he had the best performance in this match. This is the Miro we need to be seeing more of. The one that is just coming out there, is just destroying anybody in his path. And then the other thing that stood out to me too was his standoff with Wardlow. I thought that was great. I thought him and Wardlow going face to face like that and having that little back and forth was really, really nice. And then the other standout too was the Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara on the apron. That sequence that they had,
beautiful. That was beautiful.
Freaking beauty. I mean, that made me now want to see a Jungle Boy Sammy Guevara. I mean, I already wanted to see that match anyway, but now I more so want to see Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara go at it. But yeah, that's something I will commend AEW about with their battle royals. At least they progress storylines through the battle royals. There's a lot of different storylines that they're progressing with. Like we mentioned, Hangman Page and the Dark Order. That's a storyline that's progressing. You got MJF and Sammy Guevara, and then they, later on in the show, they go into more detail with that. And so just a lot of different things they play up. And so I at least commend AEW on doing that. But yeah, overall the battle royals, they're not memorable up until like the last moments. And was pretty surprised Orange Cassidy and MJF were the last two remaining. I honestly thought, I predicted last week that MJF and Sammy Guevara would be the last two, because they've been teasing that whole feud there. But I think they're going to wait a little bit longer. That may be Revolution possibly in February. But we got MJF versus Orange Cassidy next week. That should be a really good match. It should be very entertaining, knowing the creative characters these two guys are. So it should be fun to watch.
Yeah. Very close call for who I think is going to win the match, but very quickly, if I had to pick a guy between MJF and Orange Cassidy, I'm going with MJF to retain the Dynamite Diamond ring, thanks to Miro. So I got Miro costing Orange Cassidy the match, and I got MJF keeping the Dynamite Diamond ring because it just fits him so well. So I'm going with MJF. Your predictions very quickly?
I think I'll probably take your side on that. Yeah, I can't really see Orange Cassidy wearing around the ring. I mean, I'm sure it could make it really entertaining, but I think the Diamond Ring kind of adds to the MJF character quite a bit. And yeah, I think probably Miro and Kip Sabian will probably play some sort of factor in the outcome next week, considering that they're still doing this Best Friends Miro Kip Sabian feud, which I kind of wish would go ahead and have the match already, because I'm kind of getting bored of it. I want to just kind of see Miro break out on his own, because we saw tonight, firsthand how he can do on his own, and I just wish he'd be in front of like a full length crowd, to really get those that fan interaction in. But we gotta go with what we got, and but yeah, I think I'll side with you on your take there.
Yep. Moving on here, we got a singles match between Chris Jericho and Frankie Kazarian. First time ever they've been saying it. I thought this was a really good match. Sloppy at some points, but I mean, my God, Frankie Kazarian he's very good. And Jericho, who's at 50 years old now, he can still go as well. Jericho is very good. The match was really good, but I think the bigger picture, you're probably going to agree with me on it on here. The bigger picture was what happened later at the end of the match. So I'm just going to talk about that real quick. You got Frankie Kazarian putting in his own wall to Jericho on Chris Jericho. MJF and Wardlow come down, and MJF brings a white towel down to the ring, and he's thinking about throwing in the towel to save his member, Chris Jericho. Sammy Guevara comes down. He snatches the towel out of MJF's hand. Jericho looks up, and he starts getting angry at Sammy Guevara because Sammy has the towel in his hand. And then moments later, we get a couple of cradles between Kazarian Chris Jericho. Kazarian walks right into a Judas effect, and Jericho wins the match. Then we get arguing between MJF and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara is absolutely livid about this situation. Jericho gets on the microphone and he says, I've had enough of this. Why are they going to do two things? We're going to settle this next week in an ultimatum. I think that's what they called it. So it's either going to be the Inner Circle work together, and they work together as a group for a very long time, or they break up forever next week. Should be interesting. This Inner Circle storyline has been awesome so far. One of my favorite storylines in wrestling, actually. And what MJF is picking off members of the Inner Circle one by one, and he's going to start with Sammy Guevara. Thoughts on the match between Jericho and Kazarian? Then your thoughts, Wesley, on this ending to the match.
Yeah, overall a good match between Jericho and Kazarian. Yeah, like you mentioned, sloppy at certain points, but you kind of gotta have to expect that a little bit with two guys who, Jericho's 50 years old now. You got Kazarian who's in his mid 40s. But hey, I mean, the fact that these two guys are at the age that they're at and they're still performing at a very great level, I mean, you gotta commend both guys for that, man. But yeah, overall a good match. Yeah, the bigger story after the match, Jericho laying down the ultimatum: either next week we work together as a team for good, or we break up forever. The one thing I will say about this storyline is I love the unpredictability of it. I love how we don't even know what's next. AEW keeps on surprising us on what they keep on adding to this storyline as each week goes by, and every time we're watching Dynamite every Wednesday. I really enjoy that unpredictability factor. It's something that you can just always really appreciate in wrestling when done right. And AEW has definitely done the storyline right. We'll see what happens next week. It's definitely going to be a talked about subject. Either the Inner Circle work together or they break up forever, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. But what I've been noticing with Sammy, is I think they're definitely leading towards a face turn with him, because they've been portraying him more as feuding with MJF, who MJF of course is a heel, and he's been trying to do the right things in certain situations more and more. And so I think they're kind of leaning towards more of that Sammy Guevara face turn. And, we might end up seeing him, be the oddball out of the group if, they don't completely disband. Whatever happens, that, like I mentioned, the unpredictability factor, it plays just a huge role in the storyline. I really enjoy it, and it's going to be very interesting to see how everything turns out next week.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is they'll decide to that they'll team up and they'll get along, and it'll be a situation while you have that, say you had a football team and there's always two people that just can't stand each other, they hate each other, they can't even look at each other. We'll get a situation like that between MJF and Guevara. They'll pretend they're on the same team, but really they are not, and they hate each other, and they're going to implode again. This will lead to a match at Revolution, Sammy Guevara versus MJF, and Chris Jericho will be the special guest referee of the match. Because technically, in my opinion, Chris Jericho doesn't need to wrestle every single pay-per-view. He's doing fine with what he's doing right now. He can have matches here and there on Dynamite, but this storyline, I think if you have Guevara and MJF at Revolution, Jericho as the special guest referee, it makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. What do you think?
I actually really like that idea. I think that would be really interesting to see. We've never seen a special referee match in AEW. I think this is the kind of storyline, this is the type of, feud you can say you can really place a special referee match in. I really like that idea. I think that's a really solid Jericho special guest referee for Guevara versus MJF. I definitely see Sammy versus MJF being a match that they add to Revolution come February. But yeah, adding Jericho in there as the referee, I think, is smart. And yeah, like you mentioned, Jericho doesn't have to wrestle every single pay-per-view, especially at the age he's at. He can still go very well, but you don't need to have him wrestle all the time, But having that presence there of Jericho on AEW television, of course, it's huge, and so I think that's a very solid prediction there. So I think I'm going to go with you on that.
Yeah, Women's action. This was shockingly not the last match before the main event. This was actually right in the middle. We had Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch. I'll tell you what, man. I don't watch Dark every single week. The one match Layla Hirsch had with Serena Deeb, very good. She carried Britt Baker through this match. I'm not saying this match was good. It was fine for what it was, but I really don't say who AEW needs to sign, but I'm gonna say it here. AEW needs to sign Layla Hirsch. I think she's very good, and she reminds me a lot of Shayna Baszler. She really does. Her style in the ring, her mat work, she reminds me a lot of Shayna Baszler, and I think she can be AEW's version of Shayna Baszler. But Baker, they got her the victory. Obviously, they're building up her momentum. She tapped out Layla with the lockjaw after the match. Thunder Rosa came in and attacked Britt Baker, and they got into a brawl. And now we're getting this interim feud between Baker and Thunder Rosa. To me, this is a test for Britt Baker because obviously they want her to be the women's champion. Obviously, I think she will be the women's champion, and it could be against Hikaru Shida, possibly at the next pay-per-view. But this is a test to see if Britt Baker can hang with some very good wrestlers, if she can hang with Layla Hirsch. Thunder Rosa is going to be that's going to be a great test for Britt Baker. And to be honest with you, that's a match I'm really looking forward to when it happens. I expect Baker to win, and then we're going to get Baker and Shida probably at Revolution. What do you think about this push, kind of? Yeah, I would say push. What do you think of this push that AEW and Tony Khan are giving to Britt Baker right now? And your thoughts on the match with Layla Hirsch?
Yeah, I thought the match with Layla Hirsch was okay. I definitely agree with you. Layla Hirsch definitely carried her through the match. You could definitely tell at certain points that Britt Baker was it's weird, because she came back from injury, and honestly, man, I was noting, how those first couple matches back from injury, like she was really, really impressing me. Britt Baker was like looking more intense. Her timing was more on. She was just looking more fluid. She wasn't looking so awkward in the ring. Now, tonight, I just kind of felt like wasn't that great of an example. Not saying the match was terrible, but it was just okay. It was fine. Layla Hirsch, she's very solid. I've been seeing her work on Dark. I watch Dark every week. I don't watch it live every week because I got personal life stuff going on. But Layla Hirsch, she's very solid. I really like this kind of fighter background of her, and I really like that comparison with Shayna Baszler. It's like, I definitely see some Shayna Baszler in her. I think Layla Hirsch could be something really solid for the women's division. I kind of hope Tony does end up signing her because I think she could be very good. And the storyline here with Britt and Thunder Rosa, I'm enjoying it. It's something good for Britt and Thunder Rosa to do kind of in the interim right now, while Hikaru Shida is now feuding with Abaddon for the AEW Women's title. Much to my dismay, personally, I'm not a fan of that women's title feud, but I'm sure Shida's probably going to get through that victorious. But I think I eventually see Baker and Shida facing off for the women's title at Revolution. It's something I thought was going to happen sooner with them two, but it's eventually going to come to blows. These two have history with each other. Shida was the one who busted open Britt Baker. I mean, the story's right there for it. But I think this feud with Thunder Rosa should be very good. It's already definitely very, very intense already right off the get-go. So hopefully Thunder Rosa can kind of help guide Britt Baker through to a really good match when they eventually come to blows.
Yeah. This is good. The match, like I said earlier, the match against Thunder Rosa. It's gonna be a big test for Britt Baker to see if she can hang with the likes of Thunder Rosa and Shida. And right now, they're just making Baker and Shida do interim feuds until they eventually fight each other. And I'm totally cool with that because you're giving storylines to the AEW Women's Division, which you really haven't been doing before that. But you could tell that Tony Khan is listening about the Women's Division, because we're getting multiple storylines on Dynamite. They get 5 matches, I believe, on Dark. I don't watch Dark every week, but the women do get 5 matches on Dark. And you could tell that Tony Khan's paying attention to the fans' criticisms about the women's division.
Yeah, definitely. I think AEW is now starting to put their foot forward with the women's division, and they're trying to build it up more and more. Seeing the likes of Red Velvet come along, and they're doing stuff with her. And then it's cool to see, and I hope they continue to progress as time goes on, because I really want to see this women's division get better and better as time goes on. I think people just really need to have more patience for it. We're now starting to see AEW take those few steps forward, and hopefully they continue to take those steps forward. But I really would love to just see this women's division get to the level of an NXT. I mean, you look at NXT's women's division, that should be AEW's goal, is get as great as NXT's women's division, because that from top to bottom, that women's division is stacked, bar none. And so AEW, if they can just stay on the right track and continue to build from this, then they'll be just fine. This is the one area that they've been struggling in ever since the get-go. And so if they can just get this check marked off their list, then they're off to the races.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's talk about this tag team match. The last thing we got to talk about here on the review, we had Team Taz, Ricky Starks, and Powerhouse Hobbs against Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes. Now, I did not review Dynamite last week. I had a football game to attend to, but last week I heard they gave Will Hobbs the new name Powerhouse Hobbs. Not a fan of it at all. I don't like it. If you could call him the Powerhouse Will Hobbs, but calling him Powerhouse Hobbs, this doesn't sound right at all. Not a fan of it. But this match was a fan of. I was a fan of this match. This was a good tag team match. Hobbs got his stuff in on Darby Allin. Hobbs is very impressive. He's a freak athlete. Like Jim Ross was talking about his high school football background and how athletic he is, how fast he was as a D lineman. And then in the match, Cody got the hot tag in. I was going to hit a crossroads on Ricky Starks. He reversed it. Darby got the tag in. Cody hit a tope on Hobbs. Darby hit a coffin drop on Ricky Starks and got the win. Very quickly, before we get to the obvious, what did you think of the tag team match?
I thought it was very solid all around. Hobbs, like you mentioned, he's very impressive, man. I think Hobbs turning heel and joining Team Taz was definitely the right move for his career, because before we didn't really know much about him. He just seemed kind of one-dimensional, but now you can already tell just from like the attire change, the attitude change. It's already added so much to him and his character. I think this is only going to do nothing but good now that he's associated with Team Taz. And I thought him and Ricky looked really good in there against Cody and Darby. And the match itself, like I said, very solid. Cody and Darby pick up the win here. They get their win back, as I figured they would. Happy Darby didn't take a pinfall again, because I wasn't a fan of that. The first tag team match with Cage and Starks against Cody and Darby, but it is what it is. But very solid all around.
Then, after the match, we get Hobbs attacking Cody on the outside. Hobbs comes in. He attacks Darby Allin. Arn Anderson attacks Will Hobbs. Then Ricky Starks joins in. Taz tells Hobbs and Ricky Starks to attack on. Out comes Dustin Rhodes. He takes care of business. Brian Cage comes out. He demolishes Dustin Rhodes. Cody tries to get back in there. I think Brian Cage hit a EVD claw on Cody Rhodes. Then Taz gives Will Hobbs the FTW Championship. They're holding up Cody. As Will Hobbs goes to hit Cody with the FTW Championship, the lights go out. We see a big winter snowing graphic on the screen. We see snow coming down on the stage. And the name that we see on the Titantron, Sting. We saw Sting's name on the Titantron. And the about 800 people in Daly's Place went ballistic. I saw so many videos on social media reacting to Sting coming back. He signed a multi-year deal with AEW, and after the segment, the one thing I had in my mind about this amazing moment, it will go down as one of the best moments of 2020, by the way. The one thing I had in my mind was, dude, imagine if this was in front of a sold-out audience. Imagine if this was in front of a sold-out audience with normal circumstances. That might have been the pop of the year. I think that might have been the pop of the year if that was in a full audience. But Team Taz runs away. Sting looks at each of them. He looks at Dustin. He looks at Cody. He looks at Owen. But the one I was like, oh my god, like my heart's about to jump out, is when he stared down Darby Allin. He helped Darby Allin up, and then the three words I could think of while seeing Darby and Sting stare down each other is past and future. Sting is the past, Darby Allin is the future. That was an amazing sequence, the scene with Sting staring down Darby Allin. This was an absolute amazing moment in pro wrestling. Even you had websites like Fox Sports, ESPN were tweeting about this. Un-effing believable. I don't want to curse here, but un-effing believable this was. I gotta give the floor to you. I need your takeaway on this.
Man, all I can really say, man, absolute chills. Absolute chills, man. I heard the rumors. We all heard the rumors. Sting is, he's coming to AEW. His merch was taken off at WWEshop.com. I didn't think much of it. I was thinking, man, I was thinking in my heart, maybe, but I wouldn't put my money on it. But man, when those lights went out and the graphic, Sting just came up, I jumped off my living room couch and I marked out so much, man.
I marked out too.
Yeah, Sting. You talk about one of the greatest ever, man. You got to mention Sting. What a career this man has had, and this is the first time in 18 years, man, that he's shown up on TNT. And the call from Shivani, man, that also gave me chills too. The call
that
from
did
Tony
too.
Schiavone,
Yes,
gave me absolute. That gave me I was just like I had to touch myself. I was like just goosebumps, man, goosebumps on my arms, and just it was unreal. And I just was smiling from ear to ear seeing this, man. And like you had mentioned, if this was in a packed house, man, I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about that when the segment ended. I was like, oh my gosh, if this was in a packed crowd. Oh man! Oh my gosh! That would have been the probably most deafening roar in recent memory, because that oh man, it's just like so many moments like this year in AEW. Like it's like I just want to imagine what the full crowd, like Matt Hardy's debut, Brody Lee's debut. Now we got Sting's debut. And I loved, like you mentioned, the visual with him staring down Darby, that face to face with them. Absolutely wonderful, man. Beautifully done. This is going to be so amazing. And let me mention, too, the theme song, an absolute banger. Can we talk about that? Like, Sting's theme music for AEW freaking rules. Like, when we was just walking down the ramp, I'm just jamming out a little bit. I'm like, okay, all right, this, all right, I like this. Like, man, everything about this is just wonderful, man. This had to have been, like, other than Omega winning the world title tonight, this had to have been the highlight of the night for me.
yeah.
This was just unreal. Sting is in AEW. Can you believe this? 2020, Sting is in AEW. I never thought those words would exit my mouth, but I just said them. It's unbelievable, man. This was incredible. I loved every second of it. I have no complaints.
Our buddy DJ Storms tweeted out during the show, I never thought in a million years I'd see Sting in AEW. And you bring out Tony Schiavone. That call from Tony Schiavone, dude, I'm not joking when I say this. That's going to be something I remember for years. Like that call from Tony Schiavone, like I literally thought he had tears coming down his eyes. That brings back memories. That brings back Nitro memories with Tony Schiavone and Sting from 2001. You heard Tony Schiavone. This is the first time since 2001 that Sting is on TNT, and this was such a great moment. And that call from Tony Schiavone, I mean, my God, I mean, I'm speechless, dude. I'm speechless. I really am. And now we're gonna get to hear him speak, which is gonna be great next week. And I'm excited to see how that goes. I honestly think that's gonna be interrupted by Team Taz. So we'll see what happens there. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the AEW Winter is Coming review here on the Big Fight Field channel. I want to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 300 subscribers here on the channel. Comment down below what you thought of tonight's edition of AEW Dynamite. Absolutely phenomenal show tonight. Phenomenal. Hit that like button if you like what you had to say in this what me and Wesley had to say in this video. Follow me on Twitter at Colin_Joseph. Follow Wesley on Twitter at Big_West18. And any last minute words before we get out of here tonight?
Well, man, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the channel for a second time, man. I hope we can do this again and again and again because the fans want it, man. They want it so as the viewership. It's gonna be going up, man. Those likes, you better be hitting those like buttons.
Yo, the last time he was on the channel, it got over 100 views. This video better be getting over 100 views.
That's right, 100 views. We better be getting 100 views. I'm gonna be watching. We better be hitting 100 views. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to Big Fight Field. Support my friend Joseph because he has some of the best wrestling content in the IWC. So go subscribe to him. Follow me on Twitter, Big_West18. I'm live tweeting AEW Dynamite every single Wednesday night. Just go follow me, Big_West18, BIG_WES, all lowercase, 18. You know the drill. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And that's all I really got to say tonight. Thank you so much again for having me, Joseph. It was an honor. It was great to talk to you about what a phenomenal show this was tonight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow for the NFL Week 13 predictions. And I'll see you Friday for the NXT TakeOver War Games preview and predictions. I'm going to have Indigo Uchiha on the channel for that. That should be very good. Have a good night, guys, and stay safe.